Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused, but you couldn't explain why? You weren't yelling, nobody threatened you, but somehow you left doubting yourself. That's manipulation. And here's the uncomfortable truth: manipulators aren't always loud, aggressive, or obvious. Sometimes they're charming, sometimes they're wounded, sometimes they're us. Tonight, we're not just exposing manipulation tactics, we're uncovering the psychology behind why they work. Who is most likely to manipulate us? Do we manipulate ourselves first? Do we actually have control over being manipulated? And how do we know if we're the one controlling the room? This conversation might make you uncomfortable. Clarity is protection. Let's talk about it. Gentlemen, with that being said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by setting the base for the conversation. And I'm going to start off with two different definitions. The first one is going to be a neutral definition, and the second one is going to be a psychological or relational definition. So feel free to adjust, bend, mold, evolve this definition any way you would like to. Just want to get a kind of, like I said, a base for the foundation of our conversation. So to manipulate, to skillfully handle, control, or influence something or someone to achieve a desired outcome. Like you can manipulate clay or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of what this one is talking about. The other one is more psychological and relational manipulate, to influence or control someone's emotions, perceptions, or behavior in a covert, deception, or self-serving way, often without their full awareness or consent. What say you gentlemen about one or either one of these definitions? Start there. I like it.
I like it. I like it. What's interesting about the English language, if I can, the way that the first one was worded, to me, says the same. When I hear to skillfully handle, I hear everything that was said in the second one, but different words were used,
Mhm.
right? But we say, to me, it said the same thing.
Skillfully handle as compared to
Like,
influence or control.
to deceptive, without their full awareness or consent. Like that is skillful, purposeful, intentional manipulation. So I don't know. I heard the same thing. It's just when you read this one, this is what I heard when you were reading the first one. So.
Okay, well, let's get into it then, brother. With that
If
being said,
if I may, before
go
we
ahead.
do
Yes,
all
sir.
that, um, I get it. I understand why you say that. But keep in mind, the neutral definition is more so of talking about a thing. It's more used in a technical sense, like machinery or stuff of that nature. And it's kind of like saying operate, but operate is more of a broader term to where manipulate refers to more of the person who is like a subject matter expert of operating that piece of equipment. To where on the other side, and I hope I'm not getting too ahead of ourselves, once we get into the whole manipulation piece, it becomes a thing that is either it can be known or unknown. But I'm gonna pause right there just so I don't, you know, you know,
Yeah.
potentially spoil the fields, if you will.
Let's get to it if we need to. But I got you. So with that being said, who is more likely or who are most likely to manipulate? Who are the most likely manipulators in our lives? And not only who, but give us an example. And I'll start. Just a couple of them that I kind of throw out there, and then I'll let y'all start. But like, I wrote down a couple things like romantic partners, parents, close friends, workplace leaders, spiritual mentors, and even children. And then I wrote down ourselves as a maybe some of these people that may likely be manipulators in our lives. But what say you, gentlemen?
I, I was along those same grounds of what you said. Um, it's just for me, like when I think about it, it's like overall, anyone who has a high level of influence or authority over us have the opportunity for manipulation. Give me an example. I love that you're doing this early because I feel like as the conversation goes through, I'll be able to give a more skillful example.
Yeah, we want to know who out here
Yeah.
manipulating folks. Is it you, Gaddy? Is it somebody in the chat?
But giving an example, that's whew. I mean, you already mentioned parents, right? But I against our will. I guess the whole concept of how we discipline and train in a sense is a sense of, you know, manipulating behavior, right, for our children. But
So
and
you
I know
said
that
parents. You said parents are the master manipulators.
and I know this sound bad because you know we're like parents. No, manipulate is such a bad word, but and I know that you scholars are going to help me, but when I think of manipulation, and I'm starting off easy before we get into the because I know we're going to get into the deep stuff. You know, I'm like, but is that not a sort of manipulation, right? When I discipline because I want you to know that what you did was wrong, and now after I discipline, I'm training and I'm talking to you so that now I can correct the behavior with the expectation that you're going to change your behavior from what you've been doing to what I need you to do or I require for you to do.
I like it all. I'm going straight to the extreme.
There you go. Let's do it.
The government.
Government.
The government. It's almost like, you know, at times they can dangle a little something out there to make you believe that it's actually for you. But in all actuality, there's a longer plot that's working behind the scenes. And I give you a perfect example. What is it? The what is it? Earned tax credit? That's what it is? The one you get for kids? Yeah.
The earned
So,
income credit.
Earned
Yeah,
income credit. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I ain't got it in so long. It ain't even funny.
Dang.
But yeah, that's a manipulative tactic, right? You actually get the thing up front, but what you don't realize is what they get in the long term for that little bit of change you get over the years of that child. So it's like an incentive for you to have more kids and things of that nature. That's just one of many that exists out there.
Well, you opening up. Well, there's a lot of worms in that can you opening up there, because I would argue to add to yours if we're talking about the tax credit. Does not welfare fall in that same category? Like
it can,
and not in every state. Don't get me wrong. Every state has different laws on welfare, but I've seen a lot of people sitting on welfare, and the more kids they had, the more money they got, the more food stamps they got, the more subsidies they got. You know, and I'm just saying, I'm just adding fuel. My bad.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. It can. It depends on, like, I think the original intent of it was good, but then it's not them. Ideally, it's not them that was manipulating at first. But then when they add a little extra to it, like this person can't be in the house, you can't have this, you can't. So now it's part of a manipulative tactic on that regard. But on the other side of it, when you're leveraging the thing and using that thing as your primary source and not necessarily, and I'm talking about able-bodied people, because there are some people who actually need that program. And so we're not talking about those people, right? Those people who need the program, senior citizens, things of that nature, 100% 2 thumbs up. The program is good. It works well for them. But I'm talking about people who have the ability to go out there and do some things, right? But they're choosing not to, and then ride the system.
Who are the most likely manipulators in our lives? Our wives. Them jokers, boy, I'm going to say it. Good and bad. Them jokers will know what to put on. They know when to walk past you. They didn't know what type of perfume to put on, and they be like, I know that purse I saw down over there. I mean, let's talk about like that's a good way though, but that's manipulation. And sometimes as men, we don't mind that, but there's also the other side of that too. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, in a jokingly way and in a funny way, I think, we can look at women sometimes, and men probably do it as well, maybe in different ways. I don't know too many that do. I can't really give an examples, but I'm sure there are some out there. But in the jokingly way, I think women are, because yeah, I don't mind buying a purse.
So I got a question, because
Yeah.
you did something, and I want to make sure I capture that and bring it back to the table, because I don't want to bypass that like it didn't happen. You said, yes, they are manipulators, but in a good way. Explain.
I guess because it's a good outcome at the end of the day, and it is, even though it's used to control the situation, I think it's a type of control that men are open to in that situation. So yeah.
But they talking about you in the chat. He like it, y'all.
Are they?
Hey,
Like,
but you said men could do it too. I think we do it on different things, right? Like I've been hearing a lot of women catching on, and I didn't catch on that we did it until I realized that I did it. When old lady in the kitchen cooking, what we tend to do? Come up behind her, kiss her on her neck, do
that's
some gesture, let her know, in those moments the affection go up or the touchy feely go up, and then and it's almost as if we like, hey,
But how's that manipulation though?
hey, because she gets that gratitude feeling from us while she in the kitchen.
Now,
I'm still waiting the rest of it. Where's the manipulation part though?
so I don't see that as manipulation. I just see that as just, what we do or whatever like that.
It is something that we do.
Maybe trying to get you in the mood or whatever like that. I see maybe as guys manipulate, maybe if we, let's go back to pre-marriage. Let's go back to the dating. All right. Let's go back to buying the flowers and going out on dates and, investing in what we would want our outcome to be. And some would say it's manipulating. I don't know. I don't know if those things, when we thinking about relationships, are manipulation. I think right now on the surface, maybe they are, in a good way, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get into it more. What you guys think?
I mean, you said in a good way twice,
I did.
Yeah,
the explanation.
I'm not grasping. I'm not grasping the manipulation in the good way thing, right? Especially we're not talking about flying an airplane here. Right.
Okay.
We're talking about another human. And to your point with the one, I think I talked about this last week or the week before last, whatever. Like if we're talking about flowers per se.
Yeah.
If I am buying the flowers of my own, free will, then that's the thing. Right. That's not manipulation. That's me doing something out of the kindness of my heart. But if I don't buy flowers on Valentine's Day and now I have to deal with the emotional backlash of it, now that becomes manipulation, because the next year I don't want to deal with that again. So now I just buy the flowers just so I don't have to hear the emotions. So that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like when you start talking people engagement, there is never a goodness when it comes down to manipulating another person or whatever the case may be.
Okay, let's roll with it.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing, and one more, and we're gonna move. I'm gonna shut up. I'm sorry. So I think I saw somebody say something in the comments. It was something specific. So, Lisa made a statement. You tell somebody that you're looking for a mate, opens the door for manipulation. And when she said that, I immediately started thinking like, when we talk about the representative that we show up with when we're trying to date someone, Is that manipulation? Like I'm thinking about it. Like if I find out that old girl down the street looking for a new man, I'm trying to know what she like, so I don't step up incorrectly. Is that
I think what she is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think what she is saying is that if I put it out there, now I am literally giving you the blueprint on who to be. So now you get the blueprint, you get to show up as that person because I said I want X, Y, and Z. So you show up as X, Y, and Z, and I'm just deceiving you because I'm trying to, whatever. So
and
now,
that's
in that regard, that's not who I really am. That's just who I'm showing up as because that's what you told me. And then as time progresses, you realize that I'm not that person. So I get what she is saying, and I agree that is that opens the door for manipulation. But I also think you did it to yourself.
Mm.
teacher. Don't tell them what you want. Look for what you want.
Is manipulation always intentional?
No,
No.
no. Um, Ideally, when you look at the definition of manipulation, the definition itself gives the impression of intentionality. However, I also believe that you could be trained in the ways of manipulation, thinking that what you're doing is the right thing until you actually learn later that what you're doing is manipulative by nature. So I would say that it is not always intentional. But now, after you learn that what you're doing is manipulation, now you have to go back and you have to correct the habit that you have developed moving forward. And that's where it can be kind of slippery and dangerous.
Yeah, I'm right there with it. I don't think it's always intentional. I believe heavy on the learned behavior. Um, and I don't want to divert the conversation, but I definitely see where where a lot of bad behavior that was taught generationally is to manipulate. Even when we talk about, look at this, we've talked about it on this channel. We look at these gender wars. It sounds like two different people trying to manipulate each other to behave how we want the other to act, right? And it's like my tactics ain't working. My the stuff that what I want from you ain't working, and so now we both going on these different podcasts bashing each other, trying to beat each other into submission. And I look at that as a form. I believe that that's a form of manipulation. If I got to sit up here and badmouth you till you act like how I want you to act, then that's manipulating. If I tell you I'm gonna hold off on doing this, so you ain't gonna get none of this unless you behave this way. It's manipulation. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I think we all in agreement with whether or not manipulation is intentional, and I also agree that I don't think it's always intentional. I think definitely like what Coach was talking about, and Gary was talking about, learned behaviors, and I think also I believe that sometimes you can pick this up being around being around certain people, even at work, certain friends and stuff like that. I think that sometimes just being around people, even as adults, we can learn certain tactics and certain things, the way to manipulate people, even though we may not have learned it. I think that we can, because I think there are so many different ways and different avenues of manipulation, and it looks different, depending on where you at. So I think that even though people grow up like this sometimes and people are not always aware of it, I also believe that there's a group of people who are learning this behavior in adults and are practicing these things on people, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's just the only thing I really wanted to add to this. So, with that being said, we all agree that manipulation is not always intentional. So, do you guys believe that someone can that do you believe can someone genuinely love you and still manipulate you? And I'm right off the bat, I'm going to start leaning towards yes, and that's only because we all just agree that manipulation is not always intentional. So I'll just start with just the yes, but I'll let you guys go around and then just add a little bit more to it.
You said what I was going to say. Um, if we saying that it can be non-intentional, then someone can genuinely love you, and because they have these learned behaviors of manipulation, you know. But I'm also with Coach on the part of, once these things are identified, if you genuinely love me, you trying to do the work. And if I genuinely love you, I'm trying to do the work so that I don't continue or I don't stay there. But I see something brewing up there in the top left hand corner. So I'm gonna shut up and move on.
The answer is no.
No.
Absolutely not. No. We got to go back and look at what love really is.
Mm-hmm.
If we really do understand what love really is, I don't care whether it's intentional or unintentional, you're thinking about the other person. So if I'm considering the other person, how is it that I can't look at myself and determine the things that I'm doing as though I'm trying to maneuver space to benefit me and me alone? So the answer is always no. When you can't take manipulation and put the word love side by side and say that they coexist. That's not true. If I am trying to manipulate you so that things work out in my favor, how can I claim that that's love?
I mean, so yes, but
I like the yes. It was almost like,
yes.
it was like he got liquored up first and like, yes. Excuse me on Friday. Yes.
Like I agree with you, right? Because that is what love is. It's not love if it's self-centered, right? But some people were just taught that certain behavior is correct. I joked about it in my last statement, but a lot of women were really taught, I gotta withhold this thing from you so that I don't lose a fight or a battle in this thing. I gotta have a upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not till they realize that if you truly say you love that person, sometimes it's not till they realize that they are destroying the very fabric of of this relationship that they want, before they realize, oh, this is not a problem. Because a lot of us, especially when we were young men, we were taught. A lot of us was taught. Let me say, a lot of us was taught to just endure what women did, and we didn't quit. We hated it, but we shut up and we let it burn on the inside because we were taught. That's a woman. We were taught. That's your old lady, and so we put up with a lot of stuff. But a lot of them were also taught by mama, by auntie, by whoever, and it was ingrained in. I heard my aunties and my mama telling my sisters and my cousins this stuff before we were 10. It's the crazy part. Like it's some of them was told this very early on, and so that's why I say if the love is there, when you realize the damage is doing, is when the change takes place. So I'm not disagreeing. I just believe that some people believe that is the correct behavior to have.
Sure, I agree with you. They do believe that because they've convinced themselves that they are right. They do not care what the true reality of love is. They care what their version of love equates to. And because it equates to all of these faulty teachings like happy wife, happy life, happy life, happy wife, stuff like that, then that kind of sets the precedence of what perceived love looks like in a relationship. Like I've seen somebody say, I think it was Atlas Keys to Key Realty, they said that men were taught that they were hunters. Sure, they are hunters. I'm just going to put it out there. Men are true by nature hunters. Now, what they hunting could be problematic. If they hunt the right thing, right now, that changes the whole narrative of it. So that's kind of like my point. There are things that have been taught and they were taught the wrong way. And a lot of us move forward thinking that those teachings are the true gospel of what reality is. Therefore, now they'll stand on their square and fight tooth and nail for their version of reality, which ultimately is a lie. And so they think that both of those things, manipulation and love, can exist, especially if I don't know that I'm manipulating you. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind, right? Everybody got blind spots. I would give you that part. But you can't tell me that your entire behavior is a blind spot too. I'm not buying that lie.
Yeah, I think once you went back and referred back to the definition of love, it kind of made me adjust my answer a little bit. And I'm always open to having my reality or having my whatever changed. So I think that, like, when you saying love is not going to manipulate. So that thing that Gaddy was talking about, you talking about, women got that thing that they kind of hold over your head, and I know what you talk about, and I think we all do. And it's like, if you know what love is, you won't hold that thing over my head. If you really know what love is and you really understand the principles where you learned about love and about marriage, we wouldn't even be in a situation to where you're holding that over my head and manipulating me with that. So that right there makes me kind of understand a little bit more now about why Coach said no and why I initially said yes. But I do also get the part about like the blind spots too. And I think that's where I was probably shooting at a little bit when I said the yes. And to Gad, what Gaddy was saying as well. Like some stuff we just don't know. But if I know, even if I don't know whether or not I'm manipulating somebody or not, if I know what love is, if I truly know what love is, love won't allow me to manipulate. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is that what you were kind of saying, Coach, or am I like way off?
And I think love won't allow you to be self-centered in your thinking towards this relationship, which would stray away from manipulative behaviors.
Right.
And I think that's where he's getting to. Like, that's why I had to start with a resounding yes, because he's 100% correct. Like, if we even with you, my brothers, right? If I say I love my brothers, I love you as my brothers, our relationship is how can we be there for each other, not how can Garfield be there for me. Then I can't say I love my brother Garfield, because I'm more worried about how he could be there for me, not how I could show up to be a better brother to you. And same thing, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what that looks like in the romantic sense. It's the same way. What am I going to do for her? What can I do to put it, like, when I buy flowers, it's not to manipulate, to manipulate a smile. I just want to see you smile. You know what I mean? Can I make you smile today? Can I make you think of me while you're at work? Can I do something before you leave this house? Can I say the right thing to make you feel good walking out this door? You know what I'm saying? Like, but and now some people would argue, well, why? So she can stay with you, right? So she don't leave. But no, because I want to you can't make somebody happy, right? I get that. But for the lack of better terms, I want to make her happy. I want to, but go ahead, Coach. I see.
Ralph Tresvant. I appreciate all that.
Bro.
Everybody want a man with sensitivity. I appreciate all that. I'm clouding, bro. But here's the reality of the truth. Not saying that what you're saying is wrong at all, right? But love doesn't manipulate. Love collaborates. And what we have to understand, especially we're talking about husband and wife, the thing that she wants may not necessarily be the thing that she needs right now. The thing that she gets from her husband will put her in a position so that the things that she wants will now become available. I think a lot of times what you'll find is that some people want a thing that they're not necessarily prepared to get. And so it's like me saying, oh, well, I got a high school diploma, but I'm going to go and apply for this job as, the chief operating officer. You ain't getting that job. I'm sorry. Not unless you got a skill set that supersedes the education that's required for it. And so I think in the world that we're living in right now, I think there are too many people who want the C-suite position with a high school education, and it doesn't work that way. There's some developing and coaching that has to happen. Like even when we were talking about marriage, we're still talking about marriage in Bible study, right? You go study the scriptures will tell you how to be a wife, but it's that husband that tells you how to be his wife. A lot of people, they miss the second part and they keep going back to the first part and they want to stand on the first part as though the first part was actually going to get you in the door and have him to take you and put you in position. No. If you can't listen to him teach you and train you how to be his wife, then you're just a random person that knows how to quote scriptures. So sometimes the things that we call manipulation ain't manipulation. It's called training, developing, growth, and things of that nature. And a lot of people aren't coachable and trainable. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Well, speaking of what ain't manipulation, that was a real good monologue. That I really like that. I really like that piece, Coach. It was spot on. And speaking about manipulation again, what's the difference between influence and manipulation? And what I'm looking at, when we looking at influence, I'm looking at people like bosses at work, leaders, people in, clergymen, pastors, parents, all of these people like that. So what's the difference between influence and manipulation?
Okay, I'm gonna jump on this grenade first, right? If I'm being completely honest, influence and manipulation isn't a comparison, right? Because manipulation is still influence. Leadership is influence. Manipulation and leadership is a comparison, but everything under that is influence. So now when you look at the difference between leadership and manipulation, the comparison there is all about intent. What is the desired intent, number one, and then who benefits from it? A leader who is an effective leader, the intent is for the development of the people that he is leading, and therefore they will benefit from the service, the servant nature of that leader. On the other hand, a manipulative leader is all about using the people to benefit them. They don't care about the growth and development of the people. They just use the people to get what they want. And all of y'all been in the military, y'all seen it. You had some people who were in command positions and all they cared about was their next promotion. So sure, the unit did what they were supposed to do because you had leaders in different areas, but by that same token, they didn't really care about those people. They just wanted to get to the next position. So when we look at, well, I see what you did there. Quick fingers over there. So when you look, I'm like, wait a minute.
Hey, you're gonna make it right.
So when you look at influence, right? Influence is just simply your ability to convince someone of a thing, right? Now, once you convince someone of a thing, the question is whether or not you're doing it for their good or you're doing it for your own good.
Yeah, I like that you cleaned it up and we switched the word out to leadership. It definitely seems more applicable in this situation. So definitely, yeah, I like the leadership piece.
Yeah, I was actually I wasn't thinking the leadership. I was struggling though with the influence because I was trying to see was influence not a part of manipulation. But I'm glad that you brought leadership into there because that is correct. Influence is involved in both of those. But both influences handles the people differently. Right? With a leader that influences properly, you want to follow. Right? You make the conscious decision to follow. A manipulator makes you believe that the variables are stacked against you unless you follow. And that may not be the difference, but that is a difference, right? And you see that even in quote unquote leaders by position, not by attribute, right? you see that in some leaders, right? It's the if I have to hold the fact that I will Article 15 you every time I give a directive, I'm a manipulator. Because I'm telling you, the variables are stacked against you if you don't do what I told you to do. Now, I'm a soldier. I was a soldier for 2 decades. I understand the variables are stacked against me if I don't do what was told against me. But it's those people who lead with that reminder, to me, are not leading. You're manipulating my I don't want to say allegiance, but yeah, you're manipulating my allegiance to your to your authority at this moment. You know, a good leader is going to lead. They're going to give you the purpose behind why they ask you to do. They're going to find your motivation, and then they're going to give you good direction. Right, you see what I did there? You know, they're the two. But there's a difference. I want to follow the leader. I'm forced to follow the manipulator.
Like all that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shift. We're going to do kind of 2 things at once. Well, the first thing we're going to do is for the panel, we're going to answer this question. Do we manipulate ourselves? And while we do that, real quick, I want after we answer this question, we're going to do a rapid fire, but it's going to either be for Coach or for Gaddy. So for the chat, while you're there and while we're going through answering the other question, figure out who you want to do the rapid fire. It's going to be 6 questions. They got a couple of seconds to answer the question. So while we are answering the question, type in the chat who you want to do the rapid fire. Matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust it so it'll scroll across the bottom. That way y'all can see it. All right. So figure out who y'all want to do the rapid fire. Put it in the chat. So back to the question, gentlemen. Do we manipulate ourselves? Do we manipulate ourselves?
Initially, I want to say we can, or we do. But I think that self-manipulation is what we call like self-motivation. It's the thing we call, resiliency, because you foster the mindset of how to get through a new thing. You know, when we face different obstacles, right? And all of us, I made it above 40. Y'all made it above 50, right? By the grace of the Most High, right? And I could say we all made it above 40. And in 40 years, you've definitely faced something you haven't faced before. And there's a mindset and a conditioning you have to put yourself through to endure, to bite down and push through and endure. Right? I think that is a survival technique, but I think if we're going to say we manipulate ourselves, I think it's that resiliency, it's that perseverance is what we put ourselves through mentally to go to do a thing. Even if I'm just going after something I've never gone after before, I have to put myself in the right mindset and headspace and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. If I get up one day and say, you know what, I'm gonna run one of these marathons with Unc. I'm never doing that. I want to put that out there. So don't look for it. But I have to put myself I have to manipulate myself to want to get up and do it, because I don't want to get up and do it. It's just the way I see it.
I actually like this question. And I'm going to answer the question because I want to go back and look at both definitions, if you will. So let's bring up the regular definition, the neutral definition first. To skillfully handle, well, that automatically eliminates that, because not one person is skillfully handling themselves. It's almost like we used to call it in the Army, fumble messing our way around. We're figuring it out. I don't care who you are figuring life out. So you're not skillfully handling yourself, anything of that nature. So let's just go on and move that off the table. And let's come bring up the next definition, because this is where it gets interesting. To influence or control someone's emotions, Sure, I can control my emotions. My perception, true. My behavior in a covert manner, getting less there. Deceptive is where it starts to get sticky. Me deceiving myself. Or self-serving way. Okay, cool. It's all about me. But here's where it gets gray, often without their full awareness or consent. No, you will always be aware of the thing that you're doing if you are intentionally trying to manipulate yourself. That's the key, right? Now I got it because we talked about previously. Are we always intentional? Well, no, it can be taught. But if somebody is teaching me a covert manipulative tactic and I'm unaware of it, then I'm not manipulating myself. I'm just following my prior conditioning. So my answer is no.
I don't know. I don't know. It's, I guess, it does come down to the definition of what manipulation is, and I guess based off the definition, I want to say no, but I want to say yes. So it's like, it makes sense to me to say yes, because if I'm looking at, especially like maybe to the detriment of something like that, like for me, I'm looking at health or something like that, where people have manipulated themselves and told themselves that, this is okay and that this is okay. And to the point to where they're, now they believe that living a certain type of lifestyle and doing X, Y, and Z is okay right now. And they've manipulated themselves to the point to where now they may be, severely obese or something like that. But again, but then this goes back to the awareness piece at the same time. So it's like, I'm still I'm still kind of stuck, and I don't know if I've clearly landed on one side of the fence or not, but I think I'm probably definitely leaning towards more that we don't manipulate ourselves, and that piece about the awareness is really huge. So, oh no, man, yeah, this one got sticky. Um, because when I was doing a little bit of research, here's some things that came up when it talked about, do we manipulate ourselves? And there was ignoring red flags, romanticizing potential, trauma bonding, convincing ourselves someone didn't mean it, stand to avoid loneliness, and spiritual bypassing. So those were some of the things that came up when I was researching about, do we manipulate ourselves?
Yeah,
So,
but see, that's my point. And every last one of those, you
mhm,
seen the thing, you just ignored it. You didn't manipulate yourself.
mm,
You bypassed it because you wanted something more than paying attention to the evidence that was given to you. So it's not like you didn't see it. It's not like you missed it. You just feel like, oh well, I still don't see that as manipulation, right?
mm,
Because again, it has to be unknowing.
yeah, yeah. The knowing piece is that's the part that make me keep going back to the no. So, you got anything else, Gaddy? Nope. So who won the vote? I can't see. Where we at?
Tam,
Who won the vote?
Tam
Tam?
one, Tam one.
It said 111. That's what it
All
said.
right.
No, I see.
All right, well, what's Tam gonna do the rapid fire then? So
Oh, man.
here's what we got. Here's what we got, Tam. Man, you got about 5 to 10 seconds to answer these questions. It's going to be 6 of them, and then just answer them the best way you can. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 of them. And then after that, at either time, if we want to go back, me, you, or coach want to go back and dig into something a little bit deeper, feel free to do so. It's the chat. If y'all guys want to dig into something a little bit deeper, type it in the chat, and then we'll get back to it. So, you ready? All right, here we
Yes.
go. His first one. What is the most common manipulation tactic?
Mm.
Not You can always pass.
Yeah, let's pass.
All right. Is silence manipulation?
Uh, yes, silence treatment is a form of manipulation.
Is guilt the strongest psychological tool?
Hmm. It is definitely strong. It is definitely strong. I'm not sure though.
Not sure. Okay.
Not sure if it's the strongest.
Can manipulation ever be harmless?
Yeah, no. I just did think about the nature of what manipulation is. You know, when people
Okay.
once you come to the realization you've been manipulated, now you got to go find yourself. So I don't think that it's harmless.
Okay. What protects a man from being controlled?
Being a man,
Is that a rapid fire question or just a regular question?
No, it's a rapid fire question too.
Okay.
Yeah, then you got one more.
Because he got something for this one. But I was saying, being strong and assured in your identity.
Okay. What's one boundary everyone needs?
You got to have a quiet time, a silence time. There's got to be a time I can't be reached.
Silence time. Okay. And back to the first question. What's the most common manipulation tactic?
You know, in light of the question, 2 questions down, I'm gonna say the guilt trip.
Guilt trip. Okay.
I do like the guilt trip thing, but I cannot say, this is just me, I cannot say that every guilt that exists in relationship is because of manipulation. Sometimes you're just guilty because you did wrong and you need to feel
Right.
I'm just saying, like if you get caught up in your foolishness and you feel guilt, doggone it, that's between you and the Holy Spirit. That ain't got nothing to do with somebody exposing you to reality. So I think a lot of times we believe that guilt is a result of manipulation. Guilt can be a result of manipulation, but a lot of times guilt is a reflection of your conscious level of awareness between your understanding of what's right and what's wrong, and you chose wrong and you got caught up in the wrong. So now going back to the whole what was it? The first one. What was the first one? Yeah, what's the most common manipulative tactic? Lying. Lying is it. Not telling the truth. That is the most common manipulation tactic ever. It has always been, always will be. And here's the deal. It's not just you telling a false tale. It's also you omitting information as well. Right. Right. The distortion of the truth or omission of any facts as it relates to the truth. Both of them are lies. And a lot of people are extremely guilty of the omission of information, but they take a hard stance against distorting reality. It's the same thing. You are intentionally manipulating information in the environment that involves another person. And you think they don't know.
You said the government?
So, you know what's
okay.
And you think they don't know you lying. Come on, man. Stop it.
You also, Coach, you also had your body posture changed a little bit about this one, I think. Can manipulation ever be harmless? Or maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, I think you were wrong, but the answer is always, I mean, I agree with Gaddy 100%.
Okay.
Can manipulation ever be harmless? No.
Nah, it was, what was the last one? It was one of them. He did have a.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
That was the one right there. This one and the next one. What protects a man from
the boundary?
Yeah. What protects a man from being controlled? Boundaries. And then the next one about the boundaries. Bring that one up. What's one boundary everyone needs? Identity.
Yep.
That's flying high for some people. That's flying pretty high.
Yeah, I had
Sorry,
to get an
that's
extra second on that one.
we have
that's
we
good.
have we have adult conversations around here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's
If y'all,
that's
if y'all still need pablum, I'm sorry. Some of y'all need pablum. What's wrong with y'all?
Ugh. So I'm trying to see. All right, we got two options. I'm gonna give y'all two options right now. All right, so you can either do why manipulators are so effective, or do we have control over being manipulated? Who want to go first, and which question do you want?
Go to the first one. Ron. I go first. I picked this one.
Want this one? Okay, coach, you can do this one or the other one. It don't matter.
Okay.
So because I'm gonna say my answer is because manipulators are usually weak, and so they can identify the weak. All right, and why do I say that? Because manipulators are using tactics that are dishonest because they do not believe that they can get what they want or what they desire by being truthful, by being themselves, by telling you the truth. Like even when we talk about like when I'm trying, what Lisa said, Lisa, she put out there she looking for a mate, and she started putting out there what she's looking for, and I go in there and I try to play that part. That's because I don't believe she's going to accept me for who I am, so I have to play the part. I have to make up an image. All right, so. But I don't think if I believe that Lisa is strong and strong-minded, I'm not gonna come for her. She's not a target of my manipulation. I'm gonna find someone that's weak mentally. Because I can identify that from myself, and that's who I'm going to go after. That's who I'm going to attack, and that's who I'm going to try to manipulate. So that's my answer.
I like that answer. What's the next question again?
Do we have control over being manipulated?
Back up.
Mhm.
Because I like this question as well.
Mhm.
Why manipulators are so effective? Because they put on a facade. I think that's the number one piece. They are like wolves in sheep clothing. They dress for the part that they want. Y'all heard all these things before. They dress for the part that they want, not the part that they currently have. They will say and do anything to get ahead. That's really what manipulation is. It's to the benefit of the individual, right? So they will give the perception that they like a person, that they're in relationship with a person, and then everything that they're doing is all to the benefit of them. Just like we kind of talked about the love thing previously. Even with the I'm just gonna be real for a hot second. Some of these new age conversations, if you will, love bombing. Are we still talking about adults here? I mean, I just want to make sure. Because at the end of the day, the way we talk about things like we're talking about children. You know what I'm saying? That to me by itself is a form of manipulation because we come up with these words just to give, certain people who are emotionally immature. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. Y'all don't come for me now. That's a simple way. To give a certain group of people that are emotionally immature more ammunition to fight the same battle that they now are discovering that they're losing. So now we get these new words. Oh, so you're a narcissist, or you're. Well, newsflash. I'm gonna tell you something real quick. For those people, for those of you out there who believe that you at any given point in time existed in a narcissistic behavior, and if you write anything down in this conversation, this would be that one. In order for a narcissist to feel comfortable, an idolater has to be present. So if you have the
Can
audacity
you say it one more time before you go on?
in order for a narcissist to be comfortable in a relationship, an idolater has to be present. So if your ex whatever was a narcissist, that made you an idolater. You don't necessarily know that because you're honing in on what the latest social media trend is, narcissism. Okay. Well, what is a narcissist? Somebody who wants somebody to worship them. That's in essence what a narcissist is. You were present, that means you were worshiping them. You're an idolater. So we got to be careful and honest when we start talking about these things. A manipulator is effective because they use anything to their advantage. They don't love the other person. They give the perception of loving the other person because it's all about what they get in the end. And oh, yeah, by the way, we got to go back and look at some of the habits that we're trying to recreate, restructure, rebuild. How many of my habits feed me, me, and me only? Men are bred to provide and protect. So their very nature, in most cases, not everything, and I'm just being honest, not everything, but in most cases, they desire to serve their family. They want to serve their family. They feel more useful when they're serving their family. But let's wake up and recognize the information that society is providing. You make your own money. You don't need protection. You can. Oh well, wait. Guess what you're just doing now? You're now you're now minimizing the presence of that man. So now we got a lot of young boys in men's suits that's sitting at the house playing video game, and you're mad now. All they do is do this. But you keep saying you don't want a man. So you don't want a man, you want a little boy. You got him. Congratulations. So I think we got to go back and pull all the weeds out the garden, bro. Why are manipulators so effective? Because at the end of the day, manipulation is literally ingrained in the system, and it made you believe that manipulation itself was love. Now, the next question, which to me I think is the X factor of all of this, do we have control over being manipulated? The answer is yes. Saying I don't know today is like saying I don't want to go outside. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't, I don't know now is the most ridiculous excuse that we can ever use. Because if you really want to learn how to code, you can go to the internet and you can look at a few videos and you can become literally a novice coder by next week. So to say, I don't know, I don't have the tools, so what are you expecting? Somebody to show up and plug something in you and download it in you? I don't get it. Do we have control over being manipulated? The answer is yes. Understand what manipulation is. Search yourself and then recognize where you have manipulated people. Don't get it twisted. You have. Everybody has. Ooh. Understand where you have manipulated people and then make that your intention to stop manipulating. When you stop manipulating, I promise you, your pool of manipulators will get lesser and lesser and lesser, and then you can spot them coming a mile away. What you got, Gary?
Like I love that you said what you said about this one, because as soon as you started talking, I was like, you know what? We know generations of manipulators who had taught us that the scriptures work that way, and you know how we were able to break away from that manipulation and how we gain control? Information. We stopped only reading when we were told to read and the verses we were told to read. Somewhere along the line, somebody told me to read the whole chapter. And when I did that, it changed the way I viewed that verse. And for going forward, every verse someone pulled up, I read the whole chapter. I control now whether or not I allow them to manipulate me and control me based upon what the scripture says, because I know what the scripture says now. And I think that's a part of it. Some of us don't I think some of us become lazy in certain things, and so we become greater targets for manipulators and narcissists. Because some of us just don't want to do the work.
And I'm not saying, I want to add this piece. I'm not saying that one group is more of a manipulator than another group, because I think that's what somebody heard, right? Mm-hmm. Only thing I'm saying is I'm a man. And out of my 52 years of experience, I had less manipulation coming from people who look like them. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you're a woman, I'm sure yours is just the opposite, and rightfully so, right? Because at the end of the day, most men don't want nothing from me. And if they do want something from me, I can see it coming, right? And that's the frustrating piece. It's like men are so funny when it comes down to it, right? Especially dealing with other men. it's almost like, let me get this precursor. Let me get this precursor. Let me get this precursor. Okay, let me see if I can get what I want. The answer is no. That's generally how it went. And then at that point, we stop talking for a while, or we don't talk again. That's how men do business. I'm sorry. But I can't speak for everybody else. I can't speak for a woman. I can only speak as a man. I rarely had men attempt to manipulate me. And at the end of the day, it wasn't covert. It was like blatant. Like, hey, can you give me? I ain't talked to you in like 25 years, bro. And you just come out asking, like, this thing called relationship don't exist? I mean, we people. Nah, I'm good.
So these questions got me thinking even more about, seems like to me they go a lot together, right? So when I'm thinking about why not the fact, so Coach talked about, do we have control over being manipulated? He said yes, right? So if we say yes, that we have control over being manipulated, then is why manipulators are so effective, is that more so on the manipulator, or is that more so on the person being manipulated? So is it that they're effective because of what are they doing, or is it because of the targets that they're choosing? Just like lions never know what a full, strong, buffalo tastes like. They go after the weak and the old, So in this situation with manipulators,
Say that last part again.
a lot of times they go after the weak and the old, and the young and the babies.
Yeah, I'm about to say and the very young. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very good. That's the answer right there.
Did I just prove my own point?
You absolutely did.
That's what I do, but I missed it. So and
that was my answer right there.
Is it more on the
the
target?
Yes. You are always responsible for your own life. Like that's always, like, I don't really. Okay, let me. I'm sorry that this has happened to you. I'm sorry that this person took advantage of you. Now that I got all that out the way, if we have a conversation, I will see that you served the advantage up on a platter. In most cases, that's how it works. Again, we men, so y'all humor me for a second. Every man that has been married, been divorced, I think if we have an honest conversation, we'll identify some manipulation that took place in their marriage. Whether we did it, whether they did it, whatever the case may be. Well, when we look at manipulation that took place in that relationship, did we serve advantage on a platter? Absolutely. We 100% did. I can't speak for nobody else, but I believe most men, a lot of men are like me. And at the end of the day, when we get married, we don't withhold nothing, no good thing from our wife. At least that's how we think, right? So it's like, do you get full access to the checkbook? Yep. Do you get the keys to the house? Yep. Do you get the keys to the car? Yep. Do you get Social Security number? Yep. Because we was in the Army. Had to. Did you get a power of attorney? Yep. Advantage served up on a platter. Literally got me in vice grips and didn't even know it until it was time to pull the plug. Once the plug was pulled, vice grips got tightened.
Yep.
We serve advantage up on a platter. So at the end of the day, it's always, and I know it doesn't sound good and it doesn't feel good. I get it. I understand that. And I'm sorry these things have happened to you. But at the end of the day, we always got to look back and say, did I leave my internet passcode up under my keyboard? Yep, sure did. And they got access to everything. You served the advantage up on a platter.
Yeah, that was the worst hiding space ever.
Somebody did that for real, man? I was joking. Okay, very well.
That was the worst. Moving right along. So let's help the folks out.
Man.
Let's help some folks out right now. So what if anything makes someone more vulnerable to being manipulated? So it's people right there that's listening, that's watching, hearing our voice, maybe even us, at some point when we may have been manipulated. what made us vulnerable to being manipulated. So, what, if anything, makes someone more vulnerable to being manipulated?
Man, I think it's the work that we do on ourselves. Are you sure in your identity? Have you worked through your traumas? You know, what and the reason why I stuck right there, especially with those two, is if I don't know who I am, there are going to be people and vultures out there looking for me while I'm searching for my identity, searching for myself, wanting to sway me, wanting to move me. That's how people get caught up in these cults and stuff like that, because they're searching for something. And those manipulators are waiting for them. Them predators are waiting for them. The same thing with our traumas. We don't do the work on our traumas. Even the people that we're in relationship with, they'll use those traumas to manipulate our behavior. Oh, I know you got abandonment issues, so I'm gonna threaten to leave you every time I want you to change your behavior. I want you to act how I want you to act. But when I do the work on myself to where that abandonment issue no longer controls me, then you can no longer hold that over my head. You can no longer use that to control my behavior. So I say, becoming more assured in our identity, and then two, do the work. Do the work. Get better. See somebody. Sometimes I would call the VA, was like, listen, I've been trying to see somebody for long. What's wrong? I just need to see somebody. It's been a long time since I saw somebody. But I need to see somebody, right? Because I don't believe the work is done on me. So, but I will.
What, if anything, makes a person more vulnerable to being manipulated? I would say not updating your internet security, not updating your passwords on a regular basis, not having an active firewall. Like, I'm saying this jokingly, but I'm so serious. Not having an active firewall. Like, all of these things are just simply representatives of what our reality is supposed to look like. There's supposed to be layers of protection that I have before you get to me. And the issue is that most of us were never trained that way. Most of us are never taught that. So in essence, we be like, I met you, you look good, you smell good, we go together. No, it don't work that way. I'm sorry. It ultimately has turned into that. So what are these layers that I'm talking about? First and foremost, I need to understand what boundaries are. That's for starters. And I need to not only know how to articulate my boundaries, I also need to know how to defend them. But then I also need to understand what creates boundaries in my life. And then, because again, let's be honest, what a boundary is a thing that protects everything within the confines of what I own. So now, when you come into my yard, protected by Viper, stand back. So what do you want? Right? And I ain't got to be that rash with it, but at the end of the day, you need to have a purpose for being on my yard. If you don't have a purpose, you're going to be invited off my yard, or you're going to be met with resistance. But again, that's with you intruding on my yard without being welcomed. Now, if we have a relationship, now I will invite you in my yard. In fact, you can come in my yard. Might want to call first, make sure that I'm home. And not only if I'm home, but make sure that you're welcome. Because just because I know you don't mean that you're always welcome. So now, once you get in the yard, you still got to come through the door. That requires you to ring the doorbell. Get caught climbing in my window if you want to. It's going to be some furniture moving. It's going to be some, a misinterpretation.
Flower bringing.
I didn't want to say all that, but I'm just saying it's going to be a misunderstanding. That's all I'm saying. So if you come in the house, you better come in the house the right way. See, these are all layers of protection, and I'm talking about it from the standpoint of boundaries. But there's a clear articulation of what these things translate to in the life of a person. But because what we want is more important than what we do, is like, soon as we meet them, we give them a free pass. We give them the key and all that other great stuff. So you can just come and go as you please. I just met you last week. How do you think you're gonna get in the? How do you think you're gonna end up here? And I just met you. No, it don't work that way. You haven't shown me any evidence. There has to be evidence, and not just evidence. It has to be a duration of evidence so that I can understand that it's not a facade. So now, when I see that duration of evidence, okay, cool. Now you can get in the door. But once you get in the door, there's still protocols you have to adhere to. Don't just go wandering. No, go sit down. Right? Wait for me to invite you to different areas of the house. So that's kind of like my point. So when we look at this whole vulnerability and manipulation, I know we don't want to, because it's a tough pill to swallow when we realize that we played a part in us being manipulated. But at the end of the day, we played a part in being manipulated. And until we own that part, that means that the next situationship we get in, manipulation is at the door. Why? Because you have already shown that you're susceptible to it. And you probably ain't took zero ownership of any part of what actually took place. Therefore, you made zero corrections. So now they show up looking good, smelling good, talking good, all that other great stuff, driving good. You know what I'm talking about? We got a little clout by them because they got the social media, all the stuff like that. Oh, well, yeah, let me introduce you to my family. You just met last week. You don't get the mama. I said it like that intention. I don't say that. You don't get the mama until you got years under your belt. And when you get there, you better make sure you're acting right. Because if you ain't acting right, trust me, you're going to get ushered away.
Acted out. Yeah, man. I'm digging all that. I like I like everything that y'all said. I'm definitely rocking with it. And I ain't gonna add nothing else to it. I'm gonna move right along. Um, just for time's sake. And also, you got something else?
You got a question in the comments.
Yeah, I got one. All right, so I see two. All right, so the first one is I'm gonna go back to this one. This one I think we can answer fairly quickly. This was from about 25 minutes ago. So, what can we say about people who try to contact after years to remind us of the past? Like, what's the objective of these people? I'll be real quick with it, Coach. You can add something to it, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. My thing would be, I mean, why are you open to responding back to people from your, that you haven't spoke to in years and that'll remind you in your past? Like if they are there and they're coming up from the past and bringing up your old habits and who you used to be, my question would be, why do these people have so much access to you where you currently are in your life at this moment? So what you got in thing for that, Coach?
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Like, I mean, nostalgia is a dangerous drug. And I think a lot of times some people want you to go back in time and reminisce with them. Well, I don't live back there. I live up here. So at the end of the day, I mean, I got it. And in some cases, I may welcome a call or two from the past, depending upon who that person is now. Don't get me wrong. But conversation, that is all. Anything that goes beyond that, well, no, we probably just ain't going to venture on that path because it's a reason why we parted ways.
Before we parted ways. All right. And the next question is this. Can you say you love someone, but they hold no value to you? Can you say you love someone, but they hold no value to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I'm just gonna say no. Like this, I don't need. I don't know if you need to. I think it's overkill to elaborate. No.
There we go, then, folks. You got it. Where we at? Coach say I'm good. Hold on. I'm just trying to get back to my next question. Was that the question? That's where we was at? Dang, see, I lost it. Okay. Real quick. So we talked about what makes us vulnerable, but what about the other side of that? How do we know if we're the manipulator? Because again, like we kind of talked about before the show, when it came to like, being okay with, my other divorce and going through all of that journey and stuff, I had to accept responsibility for my actions. And Coach talked about it too. You've been married some time, blah, blah, blah. We both may be guilty of this manipulation. So for somebody out there that may be watching this and don't know if they are this person, how do we know if we're the manipulator?
Two things,
Two things.
and only two things. If what I'm doing is it define authority, or if what I'm doing defines roles. Those two things. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe that everybody, this goes back to the whole narcissism conversation, right? I don't believe that everybody who screams manipulation was manipulated. Let me say it again. I don't believe that everybody who screams manipulation was manipulated. I think a lot of times what ends up happening is that some people just don't like authority and they don't like roles. And because in their mind, they don't like authority and they don't like role, anytime they're with a person who is trying to live according to authority or live according to their roles, they're screaming, manipulating because they feel like that other person is trying to control them. No, you made that up. So number one, I have to look at my actions. And if I look at my actions as my actions, if it works against authority, because again, I say again, work against authority. Because if I'm working with authority, it's not that I'm trying to manipulate a person. I'm trying to make sure that we're running this organization according to the authority. The authority. And if that is the case, now what we're doing is we're trying to align ourselves properly with the authority. So that being said, once we align ourselves with the authority, guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to tell you to do anything. I don't have to remind you, this thing. I don't have to remind you of that thing. Your daddy walk in this house. I don't have to stand up and say, wait, why is he getting his food before I'm getting my food? Wait a minute now. Let's back up. And I got it. That's more of a role thing, and that's more of a personal preference thing, because some people are like, oh, well, the kid's gonna always eat first. Well, okay, maybe in your house. I'm just saying.
Yep.
So, when we look at these things, we have to understand roles and authorities. And if we understand roles and authorities first, because again, we like to throw the emotions in the mix first. That is always in error. No. Let's talk roles and authority first. Authority first, then roles. Now that we've talked authorities and roles first, now we can talk about how you feel. Because I think in most cases, what you're going to understand is that how I feel is a direct reflection of the rejection of authority or the rejection of the role that is actually enforced by that authority. So when I look at those things and I see my actions now are self-serving, that is the very definition of manipulation.
All right, so Gaddy, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go, but for time's sake, I'm a bypass you on this one, but I'm gonna give you first go at the first scenario. All right.
I did, that's all I was gonna say anyway.
Yeah.
Add to what he said.
All right. So here's the scenario, right? And here's the scenario. She cries every time you set a boundary. Now you feel like the villain for asking for basic respect. Here's the scenario. Say any and everything, however you want to approach it and respond to this, feel free to do so.
I'm busting out singing Aretha. R-E-S. No.
Well, first of all, is this manipulation on anybody's part? Okay.
Yes. If you are vilifying me for having boundaries, that is everything Coach just said, wrapped up into one small scenario, right? Because you're self-serving, because you want to be able to move how you want to move, talk to me how you want to talk to me, treat me how you want to treat me, do what you want to do, and I'm not supposed to have any say about it. But and instead of being honest and saying, listen, I'm just lawless and I'm going to do what I want to do, you want to feel good about it. So you're going to go ahead and cry because you want me to just sit by and do nothing while you do what you want to do. That is manipulation 101. What am I going to do for it? I'm going to see that you're crying. I'm going to continue to say what I have to say, set that boundary, and I'm gonna feel no indifferent about it because I know them waterworks are only there to sway me in a different direction. It is what it is. I'll holler at you. Now come here and give me some sugar.
Okay. What you got, Coach?
I mean, there's only one caveat I would add because I'm agreeing with Gaddy.
You don't care about the tears either.
I wouldn't say I don't care, but
Mhm.
that's not the primary thought right now.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if the tears only come because friction is present, then the tears take a back seat to the current situation at hand. Again, not that I don't care, but that's not the most important thing happening right now. But I also will say, do we refine boundaries? Yes, we do. But I would say that we don't arbitrarily make them to prevent a person from. I think that's the other part as well. So I wanted to add that to everything that Gaddy said because I'm agreeing with him 100%. But I think it's a very slippery slope when we create a boundary to keep a person from blah 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 blah. And this kind of goes back to what you said earlier, Unc. Like you're going to use this to make this person do this thing. That is a boundary that you just created in real time because you feel a particular type of way. Those aren't boundaries; those are control mechanisms. Boundaries actually safeguard the relationship in its entirety. So if I need to create a boundary to protect us from you, I will, because you have shown that this relationship isn't your primary motive. You are your primary motive. So if I find out that you're spending all the savings, I may have to take your name off the account or move it into some. I may have to do that to protect us overall. But it's only because you're focused on you. Now, if I do it because I'm trying to protect me, that's again, I'm not focused on the relationship anymore. I'm focused on me. And now I'm moving. Now the boundary that I'm creating is just as bad as you doing the thing behind my back. And now I got to discover it.
And can we?
Go ahead.
And we don't need to talk about it because I know we got to move. But can we point out that every time you set a boundary, because why do I have to keep setting boundaries? All right. And I get it. Sometimes we got together young and we didn't know how to set boundaries when we were 20. And now that we're 25, we learned something. Now that we're 30, we learned a little more, and we know these boundaries need to be set in place. I get that. But if I have to continuously set boundaries to protect the relationship, we need to reevaluate where we are and where we're going and what this relationship looks like going forward, because we shouldn't have to keep setting so many boundaries that this scenario is playing out over and over again, at least in my understanding.
Yeah. I get all of that. I definitely like everything that you all saying. I'm rocking with all of that. There's definitely an issue. Every time you're crying because we having to, like you said, we're trying to be in not necessarily in China, but there's some friction in a relationship. And then what happens is what happens when, like you said, this is a constant thing. Like at some point, like somebody got to start growing up. Like you got to be able to, dig into deep, learn more about yourself, work on self so that, and ask yourself, why is it that every time I'm feeling a little bit friction, I'm crying? Not saying that tears and your emotions or anything like that are not valid. However, if that's your go-to, and like we were talking about this is being manipulative, then we go back to the whole piece about the love. If you love me and we're in a relationship, why are you manipulating me? Why are you not wanting have these conversations that we're using that boundaries are being set to help and protect the relationship? So I think, all of that, and then going back to the whole love piece in the relationship is, why are you manipulating in the first place, especially if you say that you love me, or if you have an accurate understanding of what love actually is. So time to start wrapping it up. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna slide on over to our final thought for the evening. We're gonna go with Gaddy, Coach, and then me. and then we're going to wrap it up. I definitely appreciate everybody who's been here thus far, all the comments in the chat, all of the engagements, all those different things. And again, anybody I missed coming in, we definitely appreciate you for being here. Thank you for liking the show, commenting, all of those good things like that. Now it is time for our final thoughts.
John 14 and 15. And I apologize for looking to the left. I was reading, but it showed something for me now that I think about it. He says, if you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. If ye love me, keep my commandments. He's showing us love. Love doesn't manipulate. I think Coach said, and it literally brought these two verses up when Coach is talking. But love serves. Love doesn't seek to be served; it serves. Right? And I know we like to quote, the poet Janet. What have you done for me lately? Ooh, yeah, right. But what am I doing for you? Right. And that's what I need to ask myself. Right. I'm not going to quote Tyler Perry and at you. What do I do for you? Because that's going to get on your nerves. But I'm going to be real and ask myself, what am I doing? Right. And vice versa. It needs to be in return. He loves me. The Father loves me, so he will do whatsoever I ask in his name. Right? Because now remind you that in his name is within the boundaries of our relationship. The boundaries of our relationship is the covenant in which he set. Right? But on the flip side, if I love him, because he is in this relationship, he's the authority. So it's not that I'm doing this, and this, and this. I'm doing what he has commanded me. I'm asking things, there's things that I desire in his name, of course, and he's given those things to me. And there's things that he desires, he requires, and he requested those things. If I love him, I'm going to become subservient to him as he is unto us. And understand when I say that term, it don't mean that he's below us subserviently, but love serves. And he showed you in those two verses, in John 14:14 and 14:15. His love causes him to do, our love should cause us to do. And that relationship between us and the Father is the same relationship that we should have between husband and wife. Because the husband has the heart and the mind to do, a true husband, right? I think it's in the nature of men, because we talk about it, we laugh about it, but men, you don't have to tell me to provide. I'm telling you, when my family is in my house, then there's nothing that feels better than walking in and feeling the AC, because my bills were paid. And I took my responsibility to make sure that these lights stayed on for you. You get what I'm saying? Men, we take that part, and only thing we're asking for, because we're in the order of the Father, is for that level of respect. I don't want to say all somebody is asking for what he's asking for, so I don't want to speak for every man. But to me, the simplicity is already laid out for us. The blueprint was laid out for us. All we gotta do is follow.
Man, that was really good. This, I think, was a really good conversation as well. I'm gonna try to keep it simple. The Bible says to resist the enemy and he'll flee. Didn't say fight him, say resist him. But I think in order for us to get to the point of resisting the adversary, the enemy, whichever one you want to call him, I think it requires us to understand his tactics. And I think sometimes we don't know what his tactics are. Sometimes we get involved with people who will subject themselves to being used for his good for his good nature. I hate to say it that way, but that's true. You will allow yourself to be used for his good nature. Remember, like we said, love does not manipulate, love collaborates. And so at the end of the day, when you're trying to make a thing all about you, at some point you have to like grow up and look and see, well, if it's all about me, myself, and I, me. If that's the only thing that comes out of your mouth, I'm gonna be honest with you. You're not ready for a relationship. You still have some foundational understanding that you have to go through. And I get it. I get it. We're raised in a world that teaches you to focus on you. Self-love, self-care, self this, self that. Everything is self. Me, and me. And so you get in a relationship, you expect the other person to serve you. But why? Aren't you two consenting adults? Do you have a responsibility in that relationship? I think a lot of times when we look at it, the responsibility that we accept is very minimal compared to the expectations that we have for somebody else. So I'm gonna give a little bit and they're gonna give a lot and I'm gonna be happy. That's my knight in shining armor. That's my queen Guinevere, whatever that looks like. And so it requires every person, every man, every woman to look at themselves, search yourself and see, do you mean that other person any good? And if the answer is no, then stay away from them. You are literally a toxic person waiting to happen. Stop it. It's okay to own that and sit down somewhere and do the work on yourself before you call yourself getting in the pool claiming you want a relationship. You see it all the time. I want a relationship and I want this and I want that and I want this, I want that and I want this and I want that. And all it takes is for one person to ask you, okay, you want all that? Well, what are you bringing? Why would somebody give all of that to you? What are they getting in return? Well, they get me. Really? Oh, okay. If that's not thinking too highly of yourself, what is? So I think in the space of this thing that we call relationship, we got to realize we were created to relate. We were created to relate to one another. We were created for a relationship. But somehow along the course of time, the enemy to literally pour some poison in the pool. And now the people that we're supposed to be interacting with, collaborating with, and literally working this thing out for the glory of the Father, we have now gotten to the point to where the enemy is sitting back and eating popcorn and sipping tea like, yep, we're doing good. And it's really that. Look at our community around. So all you got to do is look around. Look at our community. Look at it. It is almost sad to where every house in the neighborhood, maybe one or two houses, have a complete family in it, husband, wife, and kids. And we're okay because we're talking about, getting the bag, and we're talking about, the accolades I did at work and all of these degrees I done acquired and all of these other great things, but you're failing at life. You might be a good worker. I'm here on time, boss. But you are failing when it comes down. And I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about us, all of us. Collectively, we are failing when it comes down to look at the young generation. They are so embarrassed by what we created, what our parents have created, what their parents have created. They're so embarrassed. They don't even want to be in a relationship. If that's not a slap in the face, I don't know what is. So I ask everybody, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you stand in the pulpit in the church. Look in the mirror and do a real long self-assessment. Number one, what are you doing? Not just to better yourself, but to help someone else. And if you don't have an answer, there's part of the problem. Number two, how many lives are you influencing for his good, not for your own good? Because you probably got a line of people lined up serving you. But what are you doing to help them serve a community? And then number three, at the end of the day, are we going back to the Father, to his word, to get a higher revelation on what he is trying to teach us? Because every revelation that we receive should cause us to go back to consider what we knew prior to. And if we don't do that, then that revelation to you in that particular moment is an isolated event. So you got a revelation for this, but did that revelation make you go back and research everything that you thought you knew prior to? Because one revelation changes your perspective of everything. Yeah, I get it. Husband and wives, husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church, and wives submit to your own husband in everything. Well, great. Now that you got that, what does that change when you go back and research and understand everything? Because here's the deal. You don't get to move the context outside of the container. What we have done so many times is move the context outside of the container. We want to pull the scripture, but we don't want the covenant. Let me stop. I'm done. I'm gonna back up off of this one because, man, this one right here is near to me.
I was locked in over there, man. And I know I wasn't the only one. So now, for my final thought, the title of the show is called "They're Manipulating You Right Now," and you think it's love. I'm going to kind of adjust that, not the title, but in my final thought, I'm going to talk about, our peace, especially when it comes to relationships. Like, Coach mentioned earlier, all of us are, most of us or all of us up here have been married and had a divorce under our belt and different things like that. And there were some things that we learned in our relationships, good, bad, and all the things in between. And I believe that before people are starting to go into other relationships, I think that they should definitely do the work to work on themselves and making sure that that they don't go through or have make some of those same mistakes that cost them their other relationships. So when it comes to the manipulation piece, maybe Coach gave a couple of things, but I'm gonna give some too. Have you ever guilt tripped at someone? Because some people are on this journey and they want to be in a relationship and they may not understand or they may not know while they're working on themselves. They may not always be able to see everything or some of their shortcomings. So when it comes to manipulation, ask yourself, have you ever guilt tripped at someone? Have you ever withheld affection to control an outcome? Have you ever played victim to avoid responsibility? So if you find yourself, maybe answering yes to some of these things, even if they were recent, then maybe there's an issue, or maybe manipulation is something that you may want to add to your list of things to work on in your life. Because when you get in a relationship, no one wants to be manipulated. You know what I'm saying? So all we can do is control and work on ourselves. We can't work on our partner or anything like that. But before we even get into those relationships, one of the things we want to do is that make sure that we're not bringing old nasty habits or behaviors into our next relationship. And just like Coach said earlier, and Gaddy reiterated earlier, and I think I did too a couple times, the love piece and the manipulation piece, and they really don't go together. So if you find yourself doing a lot of manipulation in your relationship, then we may have to question that whole love piece. You know what I'm saying? So again, that's my final thoughts. I'm gonna leave it right there. Coach said a whole lot, man. I think this was a very awesome, a very great show tonight. I really enjoyed it. What we got tomorrow and the rest of the whatever that's going on this week, and who got what?
I got two things.
Two things.
Can you humor me for a second? All right, tomorrow morning, it's in the comments. Tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Reframing the Image of Relationship, and it's probably going to be, like when you look at the title, it's going to be a continuation and a deeper dive of this as well. So you may want to make sure that you are present for that. Again, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do have one other thing I want to show if y'all can humor me for a second. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel it in the air tonight? Something's coming, shining oh so bright. Waking up to the morning sun. A brand new day has just begun. Leave your worries
All right. If you have not gotten your seat, reserve your seat yet, you might want to do that because time is coming. Man, time is going fast. So again, April 11th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you in the Midwest, that's 9:30. Yeah, make sure that you get your ticket and reserve your seat before it all runs out. So yeah, those are my two things.
All right, y'all heard it here. And I guess last but not least, for wrap it up, also tune in next Friday. Episode is What If Your Worst Moment Becomes Your Greatest Gift? I know that's going to be another fire episode as well. So again, tune in next week. Tune in to all the shows that happen and that are on in between now and then. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Have a good night.